CRO-AM Connections, connecting with Croatian-Americans through conversation and events to share our culture. Today in our show, we have John Morovich, the artistic director of the Seattle Junior Tamburitzans and Tamburaski Orkestar Kisobran, and he's on the board of directors for Croatia Fest from Seattle, Washington. Thank you all for joining us today, and Dobro nam došli. Today on our show, we have John Morovich, the artistic director of the Seattle Junior Tamburitzans and Tamburaski Orkestar Kisobran. He's on the board of directors for Croatia Fest, founding member of the band Sinovi, and he has studied, performed, and taught traditional Croatian dance and music since 1973, just to name a few things John has done over his career. And he's coming to us from Seattle, Washington. Welcome, John.
It's nice to be here, Marty. It's great to have the invitation. You have interviewed so many of my friends that I could not say no. So you've had quite a lineup of my buddies on your list, including Jack Bodic and of course the Bodic brothers, the musicians, and Peter Hazlovac, and the list goes on. And so I could not, and Vedran Brozovic, so I could not say no.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, you told me you knew like almost everyone, if not all. And you actually told me you came to the Harrisburg-Steelton area a few times too. So you're familiar with people there as well.
I have indeed. And I had several cocktails at the Sveti Lovro Croatian club there in Steelton.
That's awesome. So, Johnny, I have one last question before we jump in. People have referred to you as Johnny, and I'm calling you John. What do you go by? And I think this is a Croatian thing, but I wanted to ask you, what do you go by?
So, that's a good question. Professionally, I'm John. So, like, regular people call me John. Croatian people tend to call me Johnny, especially when there are other Johnnies around. And there are all kinds of Johnny itches in this planet, like lots. I know probably 100. So either way works.
Yeah. And I had a cousin, Ivan, Johnny. I called him Johnny. My brother's John, Ivan, so I call him Johnny. So when I saw that, I thought it was kind of funny. We're going to go by John tonight, if that's okay.
Everyone else said, no, his name is Johnny, but you do whatever you like. Yeah.
I probably will get comments. Why aren't you calling him Johnny? All right. So we got, as you know, I think 3 parts to our show. We're going to talk about your family history, your Croatian roots. The second part, we're going to dive into your rich work in the culture, the Croatian culture, in not only Seattle, but beyond, and nationally, internationally. And then the third part is coming attractions, the future for whatever you're working on. We know Croatia Fest is in the fall. We probably want to talk about that, but any personal endeavors as well. So let's dive into your family history, Croatian roots. Where did your family come from?
So I'm born here. My sister and I are born here. My mom and dad are born here as well. My mom's grandfather has a really interesting story. My mom's parents came here as children, but my maternal great grandfather, Shime Shatalic, came from the island of Rava, which is near Zadar. And like many of the men of his generation, he was a merchant marine, and so he got on several ships in his career. But the one that really gave him a true ride was the one when he got off in Cape Town, South Africa, and he jumped ship. And he saw my great grandmother, the beautiful Katie Peterson, and he spoke no Afrikaans or English. She spoke no Croatian. They both spoke a little Italian, but 2 weeks later they were married. So out of that marriage, 2 children were born in Cape Town. And then my grandmother was born in Singapore, of all places. He got a job as a foreman of building the breakwater in Singapore Harbor. And there was an Italian crew of stonemasons, and they were cutting up these big rocks and building the the breakwater in Singapore Harbor, and
Pretty cool.
then he was going to get and he learned how to speak Malay. Learned how to speak Italian, and then there was a disease that was kind of affecting little kids, like a flu. I'm not sure which flu it was around that time, and they were going to send him to Rio de Janeiro, and he said, no, I'm going to go to Hoquiam, Washington, where he had two brothers and two sisters already.
Huh.
And so they came to America, and so that of those six kids in that family, they all sang, and they learned really to sing from their parents, and they sang in
Hmm.
beautiful harmony. And when they came to this country, they opened up pool halls and taverns, and they would entertain the people. That's what brought in the customers. And just before Prohibition, the Salvation Army would come out and play out in front of the tavern, the pool halls and the taverns, to kind of shoo away the people. Well, my great grandmother sent the kids out to sing with the band. Well, that just, brought more customers into the
Right.
place. So my family has been musical since day one.
Uh,
My mom's other grandfather, Nikola Mirkovic, originally went to Corpus Christi, Texas, and they were in Galveston and Corpus Christi, and they were fishing down there, he and his brother. But something happened, and he went back to Croatia, got married to my great grandmother, and then that whole family came over to Bainbridge Island,
mm,
Washington. So
okay.
families, both from the Zadar region, Dugiotok, from that little town called Velirat. And those of you who've been watching your program know that Jack Bodich's mom is Amirkovic from Velirat. So we're
So
not
you got
exactly sure if we're related. We say we're cousins, but we're really not 100% sure if we're related.
that would be cool if you are.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then my dad's great grandfather, if you can imagine, went to go work on the Suez Canal with a group of 50 men from the
Oh
island of
wow.
Zlati. And my grandfather, his mom passed away in childbirth with his younger brother. So it was just the two of them, my great grandfather and my grandfather. And my grandfather, Anthony Ante, Antonia Morovich, was actually educated in French schools. So he spoke beautiful French, and came here as a young teen, and served in the United States Army, got his citizenship, and was a very, very patriotic American. And I think if he knew I was this involved with Croatian culture, he would kill me, because he wanted nothing to do with Croatia,
uh,
Dalmatia, and none of that stuff. It just did
yeah.
not. He absolutely was allergic to anything that had to do with that country. So I think in the long run, he would have been proud. But I think initially, he probably would have put a stop to all of this a long,
Yeah.
long, long time ago. But he unfortunately died on a fishing boat, and fishing boat accident in Alaska, in False Pass, Alaska, in very bad
Hmm.
weather. And so he was lost at sea with three other Croatian men. Four were saved, but three went down. It was a boat from Everett, Washington.
Oh.
Well, my dad then was my dad was 17 when he lost his dad, and an immigrant family. His mom didn't speak very good English, of course. So my dad had to put himself through college. And instead of going into the fishing industry, like many of his in the neighborhood, there was a group that stayed with fishing, and then there was a group that went on to college and worked white collar jobs. He went to go work for Boeing, and my
Okay.
dad had a really amazing career with Boeing, 40 years. Not in the Boeing that you and I fly on, not the
Uh-huh.
737s, but on the military side. And so one
Huh.
of his projects was the lunar rover. And the lunar rover was a little car that went to the moon with
Yeah.
Apollo 15, 16, and 17, I believe, in the early 70s, 70 and 72. And my dad also worked on the command post, which is the military plane that, where the president goes, if
Yeah.
there's something going bad happening,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's secure. So he did that. And part of, one of the really amazing things that he did was giving people a chance. And he worked with Native American manufacturers to buy these parts for these various projects that he was working on. And he got a lot of recognition from Native American tribes for his
Mm.
work and giving them that opportunity to sell their wares. And my mom, she's really cool. My mom is a great singer. She and professionally, she worked as a administrator for a dental clinic. So we have our Croatian side, and then we have our professional sides.
Yeah.
I work for a catering company, so I do catering sales
Mm.
here in the Seattle area. And my sister, who's also very active in all of this stuff, also works in the dental field. So
Ah,
we have a
nice.
very wide range of interests.
Very good. So you spoke of your, I think one grandfather that spoke French. I happened to come across a documentary, a little film that you guys showed at Croatia Fest 2020 because of COVID was going on. You had to cancel Croatia Fest, and it was you doing a walking tour with Frank Zavella,
Yes.
and he was talking about it's called Down by the Riverside. And he was talking about West Seattle Riverside, and you told him a story about your grandfather bringing over Luby, I think Luby Cheskov. Talk about that because that was a little interesting tidbit.
So I didn't I wasn't able to ever meet my dad's father. And so I would always ask his friends, and oh, what was he like? And Lyubo Cheskov was from Kastel Gomilica, I believe, and he had come to the States, and they were on the same French liner. Somehow, it's really kind of interesting. You have so many of these people that were on these boats, and they would find each other. These Croatian people, they would
Uh,
find each other and kind of just give each other kind of a hand. It's like how do you
yeah,
figure out all this stuff? There's no you know no signs in multilingual English or anything like that, right?
yeah,
Anyway, so my my grandfather, speaking fluent French, got them the best service. And so this Lubo, he would always tell me, he would pull me aside. He goes, Johnny, when I was a young kid, I came to this country. I didn't speak any English, but somehow I don't know how he got hooked up with my grandfather. He says, well, we got the best service on this French liner because he spoke French.
yeah. It was a beautiful walking tour, and I know Frank passed away. I think you told me he passed away a couple years
Yeah,
ago.
Frank, no, he was really, he died at, I think, age 102, about a year or two ago, and super,
Yeah,
super nice guy. He was with it all the way to the end, and we're really grateful. He would take not just Croatian people, he would just take people in the neighborhood on these walking tours
uh,
of this industrial immigrant neighborhood that was based on fishing salmon on the Duwamish River and therefore called Riverside. But it's about maybe 6 blocks by about 5 blocks, and then another section over on the other side of the hill, where it was almost exclusively Croatian, almost exclusively from 3 islands, one being Susak, the other being Zlatin, and the third being Korčula,
huh,
and Frank Juvela's family is from Korčula. So all of those people, they lived there probably till about till the end of the let's say the Second World War, just up into the Second World War, and then most of them had moved out of
yeah,
that original neighborhood. But it's still there, and Frank, God bless him, he had all of the families contributed to a monument that's
yeah,
right there at the park. When you go there, you
yeah.
can see this monument to the Croatians that lived there.
Yeah, I'm gonna put Frank's tour he was doing.
Yeah,
A link there.
COVID was a blessing, a little bit of a blessing in disguise, because we were able to go out into the field and record interviews with people up in Anacortes, where there's
Yeah,
a big community of folks from Vela Luka on the island of Korčula,
huh,
also related to those folks that lived on Riverside. A group of folks from Zadar, And then we were able to go to Gig Harbor, and that Gig Harbor was actually founded by Croatians.
Yeah.
And there are not very many places in America that are founded by Croatians. So we documented all that. We went up to Roslyn, where we talked about the coal mining. We still haven't. We've got more work to do. You know, we've
Yeah.
got. We want to go down. God forbid, there's another COVID, but we do want to go down and talk to the folks in Grace Harbor that worked in the logging industry. But wherever you go in Puget Sound region,
Mhm.
there's going to be a evidence of that Croatians were here. You know, 100 years from now, those names are going to be etched in stone. And wherever you go, there's a monument to either the fishing industry or the logging industry or the coal mining industry. So, if you ever get out here, which I know, I'm hoping that you do,
October, we're coming.
very soon, we'll take you up. I'll give you a guided tour.
Yeah, that's awesome. October, we're coming. So I'm going to take you up on that. And we owe you dinner then as well. Um, so let's dive into your rich cultural work in the Seattle region and beyond. I have to go down through, this is a long list. It's an impressive list. I think I need to go down through, let our listeners know everything you've done. And I'm probably missing a whole bunch of stuff more. But then I'm going to go back. We're going to take you back in time and we can let you walk through your life a little bit here. So you're an applied ethno. I can't say this right. Ethnomusicologist.
Ethnomusicologist.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
tough. Doesn't
Uh,
roll off the tongue. And but you're proficient in all the tamburitsa instruments, traditional folk instruments. You have researched and collected numerous old songs from the elders in the community and amassed a music library of hundreds of recordings, books, sheet music, and resource materials of tamburitsa and traditional Croatian, South Slavic folk music, dances, and traditions. You studied at the Art Institute of Seattle. 2001, you received the prestigious Washington State Arts Commission Folk Arts Fellowship Award. 2016, you, your mother Catherine, and your sister Joanne Abdo were awarded the Gordon Ekval Tracy Memorial Award for Excellence in the Ethnic Performing Arts by the Ethnic Heritage Council of the Pacific Northwest. You're a longtime conductor and arranger for the 30-voice Yella Croatian Women's Choir of Vancouver, British Columbia, artistic director of Ženska Klapa Ružmarin, worked with many folklore ensembles across U.S. and Canada, like the Ethnic Dance Theater of Minneapolis, Domagoj of Edmonton, Ben Jelacic of Penticton,
yep.
Hrvatski Vitezevi, Cardinal Stepinac and Sarajevo of Vancouver, Zagreb of Victoria, Canada, Rados Folk Ensemble of Seattle, taught at camps and seminars like the California Cola Festival in San Francisco, Mendocino Folklore Camp, the Balkanas, Seattle Balkan Camp, the Texas, which is interesting, the Texas Folklore Camp, Seattle Folk Dance Festival. You're active in the CFU. You've been recording secretary for Seattle Lodge 439. You've also been a delegate to the National Convention there. You are a guest conductor for the 2005 CFU Festival in Chicago. You're a past board member of the Tamburitsa Association of America. And to top it all off, you're self-taught to speak, read, and write Croatian. It's a long list, John. It's an amazing list. So let's go back in time a little bit here and see where it all started. And I think I'm going to pull you back to 1973. I think you were age 7 and you started playing your first instrument, if I got that right.
Yes, I started playing accordion. My cousin Andy Mirkovic,
Huh.
who was also a cousin of Jack Baric, he
Huh.
finished in music at Pacific Lutheran University, and if I'm not mistaken, and he in piano and accordion, and one of his first jobs was in 1962 for the Seattle World's Fair and playing at the Space Needle. The Air France was having um, a promotion, and so
Mm.
with the Space Needle, so they needed a French accordionist. Well, the World's Fair ended, and they asked him to stay on, and so he stayed on for several years, being
Oh,
an
wow.
accordionist at the Space Needle. So about 10 years later, we happened to be over at his house with his wife and family, and he gave me a little accordion to
Huh.
play. And so, I was let's just say I was not very athletically inclined. Okay. I'm a big 6'4" big Croatian guy, but I don't have the chops to be a basketball player, a soccer player, or
Uh,
any of that stuff. I mean, I couldn't hit the ball in that net if you killed me. So anyway, I took up music and I played the accordion and later learned how to play guitar. And so once you learn how to play guitar and you play the accordion and you happen to like Croatian music, it just kind of all fell into place. And I
yeah.
remember, we'd go to, my parents would drag us to all kinds of events. This isn't the time, but there was nothing else better to do, right? So you would
Uh,
go to ethnic picnics. And the Slavancy, you had a great picnic out in the coal mining area in near Mount Rainier. And of course, we'd throw the accordion in the car, and they'd sit me down, and I'd start playing some music, and this old Slovanac, he had a baseball cap. I'll never forget it. And he was just moved to tears that this little kid was playing these narodne pjesme, Hrvatske, Slovenske, or whatever. And he takes off his cap and he puts it in between my feet and he throws in, I don't know, a couple of dollars. Well, pretty soon he was just getting all of these people to put money into this baseball cap. And I came home with, I don't know, it seemed like it was a lot of money. Maybe it was $30. I don't know what it
oh,
was, but it was enough that I was like, oh, I'm going to do this. I mean, so it's not that ever got rich doing it, but it was a
yeah.
nice little incentive to
Yeah.
encourage a kid. And that's why if I ever see a kid playing music, I always put something in his tip box. Always,
Yeah.
always, always.
Yeah. 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 The joy you're probably brought to those guys, right? Playing the music. And so it's,
Oh, plače
yeah.
kod dijete. I
Yeah.
mean, he
Yeah.
was like, he hadn't heard, that music, and
Yeah.
here he is seeing this little kid doing this, and he really was moved. So we had this nice exchange. I don't know what that man's name is. He's probably long dead, but he
Yeah.
really had an impact on me.
Yeah. And then moving up shortly after you join Seattle Junior Tammies, right?
Well, before that, actually, it was actually, well, yeah, but yeah, 77. Tom Kunaputic, who was the man who taught me how to play tambura. He was the director of Seattle Juniors,
Uh-huh.
and I think he was. It might have been that picnic or another. He heard me play, and he goes, "Hey, you gotta play the tambura. You gotta play the tambura." He says,
Uh-huh.
"You're not a Slovenac, you're Croat. You gotta come and play tambura with the Tamburitzans." And I did, and I liked the music. I mean, it wasn't. You didn't have to really twist my arm to come in and play with the juniors, and that was my social circle. I mean, for my sister and me, wow, I mean, here's these other Croatian kids with funny names and
Uh-huh.
hey, we've got something in common. We all come from this weird part of Eastern Europe that nobody's ever heard of, but when they hear us play and they see us dance, wow, we played for really, really cool events. We played for the mayor of Seattle for his
Oh,
inauguration,
wow.
and because Mayor Charles Royer, his wife is Croatian and
Uh,
was a huge supporter, or she is still Croatian, huge supporter of the Tamburitzans, and said, "I want to have ethnic music at this." When he announced his candidacy for mayor, when he won the inauguration party, and then the second one, and then people in Seattle kind of knew who we were, so we got invited to all kinds of stuff in the city.
uh,
And so it was our social circle. It was our best friends. And we're still friends now. 50 years later, we're still tight.
nice. Nice. So you talked about your family being very talented. I know your mom. I've seen a couple of videos. She can sing, and
Oh,
she,
she's a great singer.
she I think in '77 she was with was it Steiermark Quartet,
Yeah, yeah.
and you actually played with them too, right?
So it's really a funny story. Going back to my dad. My dad's 93. He's a super cool guy.
Uh,
You really should interview my dad because he's far more interesting
love
than I
to.
am. But he at Boeing had a really good buddy who was German, but also was the president of that same Slovenian club that had the
Uh,
picnic. And he was an accordionist, and he had this band, Starmark Quartet, And my dad jokingly said to this guy, "Oh, you ought to meet my wife. She's a singer." And so she did, and she got on the stage, and they ended up making a record together. And
Um,
I end up playing with them. So it was pretty fun. Having our whole family involved in some way. My
yeah,
dad's not a musician at all, but he would schlep us all over the place, and so my mom could sing, I could play, my sister could play and dance, and
yeah,
so we did this as a family for sure.
yeah. That's pretty fun. Maybe he was acting like the manager. He was like
Oh
making.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And he talks to everybody. My dad, even though he worked at Boeing, he would love his sideline job was being an usher down at the Seattle Center, and the
Oh,
Seattle Center Coliseum, right? And that's where what do they call it, Key Arena, or I don't know what they call it now. Anyway, yeah, and my dad loves sports, and so he would see all of these people down at the Seattle Center, and they all look for my dad, and he actually retired with the number one seniority at the Seattle Center,
oh wow.
and he loved, the NBA, and he would be able to escort the teams from the locker room onto the court. And so he met all of these, NBA guys, and he really, really liked it when he got to meet Croatian players or Croatian coaches and stuff like that.
Uh,
When he tell us all about that. So yeah.
yeah, that's pretty cool. And there's probably wasn't that many back in the day, so it was even probably more special
Yeah,
then,
Rudy
right?
Tomjanovic and some of
Yeah,
these other guys, and
yeah,
um, yeah, I'll tell you, if we have time, I'll tell you a funny sports story
yeah,
at the
yeah.
end. But we'll remind me to close with the sports story.
All right, I will. And then a little bit, I think late 70s, you formed a band with a bunch of buddies of yours, right? Sinovi, right?
Yeah, called Sinovi. That means sons in Croatian, Sinovi. And we were in high school, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 years old, and we're playing tamburas, and we would play for the kolo dancing, right? So the kids that danced kolo, and then we played the tambura for this. And they said, "Well, why don't you guys play afterwards? Play for the zabava, afterwards." So we did, and we got real good, real fast. And in '81, when we went to Croatia and other parts of then Yugoslavia, we played as our own entity within that program, and that was really kind of a neat experience to go over there and playing tambura over there. And we're
Uh,
still playing together. We're 45 years that we've been playing together. Now the sons of the original members are also playing with us. So it's
that's,
I always felt like, and I'm going back to the little kid scenario, and I've always believed that teaching young people is really important. And if you can share something with a young person, I don't care
yeah,
what it is, whether it's how to make a chocolate chip cookie, or how to catch a fish, or how to play a tambura, or whatever it is, you're going to make an impact on that kid. And so many people
yeah,
did that for me. And I was one of the few that actually took a really deep interest in the folklore. I liked it. And I remember being in Croatia, and on that first trip in '81, and it was the cassettes were the thing.
yeah,
They got
yeah,
LPs, but cassettes were like the thing. And it was great because I bought a whole bunch of them. I mean, like
uh,
wherever I went, I would go into these record stores and buy, and not just pop music. I bought some pop music, but mostly folk music. And I bought books and things about folklore and music, always all music related. And people were buying, taking pictures of statues and books about, whatever touristy stuff. And one girl said, "Why are you buying, this stuff about folklore?" You know what I mean? And I was like, "I'm going to need it someday." And
uh,
by God, it came true.
yeah,
I had a feeling that I would need that stuff someday. And so I, of course, I have amassed a huge collection of that, books and recordings and sheet music and all that kinds of stuff, which I do use all the time.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know, it was a premonition, but you kind of knew, you had a hunch, right?
I had
Something
a
in you.
hunch that this was something I would be doing,
Yeah, yeah.
for a long time.
So maybe we'll book the Sinovi as well. I'd like to get the group of you guys for an interview too, if we can, somewhere down the road.
Yeah, that would
But
be fun.
yeah, we'd probably have to keep it clean though for the stories. But
Oh yeah, no. These are no, we're pretty mellow, pretty mellow guys.
But just you guys did cut a CD. I'm sure you did a couple, but you actually got a grant to do a CD by the Jack Straw Foundation in
Yep,
2015. So that's pretty impressive as
yep,
well.
yeah. So we've been, like I said, we've been at this for quite a while, and we get to travel all over the place. We go to California. We go to mostly West Coast, but we
Yeah.
perform in different Tamburitzan music showcases and in different Croatian parties wherever they want, from Phoenix to Vancouver, BC to San Francisco, LA, San Jose, wherever we may happen to be.
Nice. And moving on, as you get a little bit older here, I think your next era you were with Vela, Luka, and Ruja Damatinka Orchestra, correct?
Yeah, it was 1979. We were playing this a Christmas bazaar. And this lady, well, a group of ladies, they were called the Ružice Folk Choir, and they're Croatian, and they sang other different kind of southeastern European music, Bulgarian and Macedonian, but majority of what they did was Croatian. Well, anyway, there was no microphones for these ladies to sing a cappella. If you can imagine,
Oh,
pans and it was just galama is all I could say. It was just so
yeah.
loud in this hall. And so I had been playing there earlier in the day, and this very nice lady by the name of Alma Plancic came up to me, and she and her sister Binky, and they said, "Hey, do you know how to play these certain songs?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" She goes, "Well,
Oh.
would you back us up? These people won't shut up, and they won't listen to us. They can't hear because there's no microphones." And I said, "Yeah, I'll get their attention, no problem. What key do you want it in?" So we ended up doing unrehearsed,
Uh-huh.
ended up doing, I don't know, about a dozen songs. Well, the people went nuts, okay? And so the lady, this Alma, she says, "Well, my sister has a Croatian dance group up in Anacortes, and they're always looking for musicians, especially to play this very specific dance from the island of Korčula, from the town of Vela Luka, where they're from, and it's called Tanac." And I said, "Yeah, I'll take, why not?" And she goes, "Okay, I'll call you after the first of the year and we'll go to Anacortes." She said, and I said, "Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I want to go. Our Anacortes is an hour and a half from here." And I said,
Oh,
"Oh, I don't think so." No, she says, "Please come. I'll come pick you up. We'll take you up to Anacortes." Well, we had the best time. And that was the beginning of a 20-year career
mm,
playing music with Vela Luka. So I played accordion, I played tambura, I danced, I sang, whatever needed to be done in that show,
uh,
um, I got to do. And we got a lot of really good training. Maria Petrish, who's the executive director of that group, was a real stickler on how we looked. All the ladies,
mm,
hair had to be done just perfectly, and they had to have makeup, and the guys had to be clean shaven and a fresh haircut, and everything just had to be just so. And my sister and I performed with them for 20 years,
wow.
and we really, really got our training from professionals from Europe. Pokojna Nevenka Šokčić, who was a dancer with Lado, who lived in Los Angeles. She taught us. Željko Jergan, who had
Sure.
we were his first group. Those of you who've heard of Željko, he was in Lado and then met his beautiful wife Cindy and moved to Pittsburgh. Well, we were
Yeah.
their first. We were his first group that he had really worked with, especially on
Oh,
the West
wow.
Coast. And wow, did he ever work us to death? Our legs were just, oh my God. And then that next few days. And so we really, really gained a lot of knowledge and good taste.
Mm,
And people would say about Vela Luka and Ruždama Tinke, oni rade kako treba.
uh,
And which means they do it
yeah, yeah,
properly, the way it should be
yeah,
done. And that was
yeah.
that was the comment that came back to us when we were in Croatia, and we toured 3 times Croatia with that ensemble, performing at Vinkovački Jeseni, and then all around Croatia. But that was the comment that came back was "Oni rade kako treba," and that always stuck with me because it's like, okay, if you're doing it right, okay, keep on that path. And interestingly enough, the stuff that they really liked the most, they loved our Croatian repertoire, but what they really liked when we went over there was our American stuff. And we played old time American clogging music with violins and banjos, with
Really?
guitars and stuff like every time. And we did a Hawaiian number. We did South Texas or sorry, northern South Texas norteño Mexican combination of stuff.
Uh,
To show a little bit of our country. It wasn't just, Prigorje, Posavina, Dalmatia, whatever. But we do those things, of course.
mm,
But when we went over there, we also brought a little bit of Americana, which was really, really fun.
that's pretty neat. I didn't realize you did that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the biggest compliment when they're saying you're doing it the right way, right? And that's like, especially from the Croatian people, right? That
Oh,
know
yeah,
them.
because it's hard to get a compliment from Croats some of the as you well know.
It's tough.
So malo teško.
Malo teško. Hey, but you did also with this group before. You had two really neat performances. You did at the rededication of the Statue of Liberty in 1986, and then the Washington State Centennial in '89, right?
Yeah. So through Alma and Binky and their connections to the Boeing company and Lee Iacocca and there was actually, you should really interview those ladies. They there was a couple documentary films made about them. One was called Hrvati, which
Oh,
was made in 1980, which I was actually in as a 17-year-old, and then one was made in '86 called Children of Ellis Island, which was done for ABC. And
mm,
you should really watch those. I
yeah.
think I can get you links to those. You should really
Okay.
watch them. And those were remember, those are at a time where Croatia was still part of Yugoslavia.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but of course, we kept our Croatian identity, and those ladies did a phenomenal job as a performing group. So yeah, we got to perform at the rededication of the Statue of Liberty down at South Street Seaport, and then Maria, I think, was on the Centennial Commission for Washington State, so we got to do a lot of touring because of that. So that was quite an honor.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Um, so you talked about your first trip to Croatia was in '81. You beat me by a year. I wasn't even a teen. I went in '82. But what was your experience like your first time going there in '81? Just curious.
It was really quite extraordinary because my mom and dad, it was their first trip as well,
Oh,
and my dad um, I don't think he really realized how many siblings his parents had. I certainly had no idea that my grandparents had that many brothers and sisters and cousins. And
yeah.
my mom, got to visit where her dad was born. But I remember going to Zlatin, and one the one guy, they kind of knew when that we were. There's no telephone, of course. They didn't have telephones. They kind of knew when we would be there. They kind of knew
Yeah.
what boat what we would be on. So they sent one poor guy down, one cousin Vice met us at the at the dock, and he was so excited, and you could hear throughout the whole. I get goosebumps because
Yeah.
they said "Došli su," and you would hear
Yeah.
it kind of all throughout the town, and
It's a big deal when you have family come from the
it was
states
a
or
big deal when
yeah.
my grandparents had left, 40 years before, but they
Yeah.
were so excited to see us. And every time I walk that riva, I still hear that, kind of just hear it echoing in my head. And then when we left, of course, the whole dock was just full of people, 100 relatives,
Yeah.
and I think that I don't think that'll ever. I haven't thought about that for a long time. But you kind of know who you are. It kind of grounds you a little bit.
Hmm.
You know that you're from somewhere else. You're from this rock island where my grandmother had to wash clothes in a freshwater stream that ran that ran into the Adriatic Sea, and that's where she washed her clothes. And part of what her job was to go row from the island onto the mainland, and then with a sledgehammer break up the rock and collect dirt so that you'd have enough to plant whatever it is was in your vegetable garden.
Ah,
I mean, that's hard.
yeah.
That's hard living. And then you have to row home. It's
Yeah.
not like you got to take the sea line home,
Right.
on the subway. You had to row back. And boy, if there was a maestral or some kind of a wind blowing, they barely made it.
Yeah. 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 But you could tell it's a good memory. Lots of good memories there, John.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I think getting to play music there as
Mm.
a young 17-year-old for my cousins over there, playing this music that I really like for them. Oh man. I mean, that was really, really special. And then they, excuse me, my grandmother's my grandmother's sister and her nieces, during the war, my grandmother sent back her costume
Mm.
so they would have something to wear. It was just what they wore. It wasn't even a costume. I mean,
Yeah.
you would consider a costume now, but back in those days, they wore with this suknya, this
Yeah.
black garment. And so they said, "Oh God, we don't have any clothes. Can you?" So my grandmother sent it back. So when we left in 81, that same aunt gave my sister one of their noshnie to take
Ah.
home.
Mm.
So, and so uh, when we'll cut maybe when we get to the Tamburitzans, I'll talk about what we did with that Zlatian folklore. But my cousin, my dad's first cousin, Vinko, gave me a book. And it was all about the customs, songs, dances,
Ah.
history, everything about the island of Zlatian. And literally, it's this big. And so I was able to use that when my sister and I put together songs and dances of Zlatian
Ah.
choreography for the Tamburitzans and presented that in Croatia at the Šibenik International Children's Festival and in Lisinski Hall and
Ah.
on Dobro Jutro Hrvatska on live TV.
Nice. Nice. So I'm gonna move you to '86, and you're doing a gig in, I think, Eugene, Oregon, and you met somebody that started your, I think, more expanded into what you were doing just in a different way and teaching, right? So talk to me about meeting Mark Levy.
Yeah, Mark Levy, he's a really amazing musician. He's a true ethnomusicologist from Los Angeles, and he and his wife, Carol Silverman, who's from New York, there was a group of uh, singers in New York and musicians in Los Angeles, and most of them are Jewish American people who are interested in our culture.
Mm.
Not just Croatia, but Macedonia, Albania, Bulgaria, Greece, that whole general area. And so anyway, Mark came up to me and heard us play, and I don't know why he chose me. For some reason, he chose me. He could have chose any of the other guys, but he chose me. And he said, John, we have this Eastern European folklore camp in Buffalo Gap, West Virginia, and in Mendocino, California. And we're looking for a Tamburitsa teacher to come and teach. Why not? Why? What's it gonna? And
Right.
like they say, you're never really accepted at home. You're accepted better out.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, this is kind of a way to get a little bit of credibility with the hometown crowd. Oh,
Uh,
they're gonna fly him out to Timbuktu to go teach Tambura. All right, I think I'll do it.
uh,
And anyway, that was oh my gosh, that was 39 years ago. And so I haven't done it every year, but I've done it a lot of years. I just got back from Mendocino about a month ago. So these are the people that go there, like 99% are not Croatian. They're not Serbian, Macedonian, anything like that. They're just people who are interested in this kind of music and they take to it. They're so serious. They're so serious about learning whether it's an instrument like these bagpipes and tamburas and drums and singing and dancing and all kinds of stuff. It's a really really cool thing.
Yeah.
So that group of people, Mark and Carol Freeman, Michael Alpert, Lauren Brody, they saw this young 22-year-old, again, a young person. They're 10, 15 years older than me.
Yeah.
And they had actually gone to the Balkans and done research, real field work. And I was like, well, I'm learning about this. I'm going, learning, doing it as I'm learning it. And and so they shared with me field recordings, books, records, cassettes, gazillion. And I mean, they really helped me out and kind of gave me a path to know what to look for, what was good in terms of authentic folk music that wasn't schlocky lounge music, because anybody can do schlocky lounge music. But if you're really looking for traditional, um, traditional folk music that was in being endangered of being lost,
Mm.
that's what they helped me look for and find. And at that time in then Yugoslavia, I think it was really endangered. I think that the government really discouraged people from doing folklore. And there was this approved folklore that these ministers of culture and whatnot were having to approve. And now that we have a free Croatia, boy, I mean, every village now has its own folk group. They've got a klapa, they've got a
Yeah.
tamburaška sekcija, they've got izvorna sekcija, they've got all these things where that was certainly not the case 40 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. It was not welcome, right? You're to be Yugoslav, and that's all. So soon after a couple years, I think early '90s, then you became the artistic director of the Seattle Junior Tammies, right? And your sister Joanne is dance director, and you both still doing that, correct?
Yeah. One of the first projects we did, I took those tools and I applied it to this this dance group, a music group, and that was the first thing that we did. Our very first project in '94 was a set of dances or a dance suite from the island of Susak. And in Seattle, there's a lot of people from the island of Susak, and I wanted to kind of honor their heritage. And we researched the dance, we researched the costumes. We had a lady in the neighborhood who had all of the patterns to sew the costumes. I played the accordion. There was an accordionist, Matt Pasinich, who showed us how to play the music. We brought a bunch of dancers together. They showed us how to do the dance in our church hall, which is not a Croatian hall, it's just a regular Catholic
Yeah.
church hall in our neighborhood. And we were able to put it together, and we still do it now. All of these years later, we took it to Croatia twice already. We were able to research this dance called Tanats from the island of Susak and perform it for that community here. And it was the first time it was really ever done outside of their community, outside of the Susak community, but there's a large community of them in New Jersey. But it was the first time really it had been done out of their immediate culture. And then we continued doing that. We did dances from the island, from Dugiotok. We've done things from Metkovic, from Ogulin, from wherever our Croatian people in Seattle were from. We
Mm.
wanted to do that repertoire. And then, of course, the Zlatin material as well.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys are a top-notch group. And you guys have your annual, right? You always do an annual concert, right? Just like everybody other groups do, correct?
We do annual concerts, and then we do things out for the public. There are way more Americans in America than there are Croatians.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so, we try to perform for many non-Croatians as well. We want to be out there in the community and so that they know who we are.
yeah,
And really that's how Croatia Fest was born. Um, the Seattle Center Festal sponsors several festivals throughout the year. And Alma Plancic, the lady that I talked about earlier, she was working down there. So I would go and visit down at the Seattle Center, and I would see the Italians, having a
Uh-huh.
festival. I'd see the Japanese having a festival. I would see all kinds of people, de Muertas, and African groups. And so I told her, I said, Alma, we can do this, and I said, we've got the musicians, we've got the dancers, we've got all of this stuff. So after the war kind of ended, and we had part of, just to backtrack,
Yeah.
all during this whole time that we're talking about doing this music, during the war, we were doing humanitarian aid.
Mm.
And we sent the first thing that I worked on just about that time was 88. A friend of mine by the name of George Shilepetar. He worked at the University of Washington, and he heard about these kidney dialysis machines that were going to be retired from St. Joseph Hospital in Tacoma. And he says,
Mm.
these are perfectly good kidney dialysis machines. Can I send these to Croatia? And we said, well, let's see what we can do. So St. Joseph Hospital agreed to let us have them. The hospital in Virovitica agreed to accept them. But the problem was getting these, I don't know, 25 or 30 kidney dialysis machines to Croatia. How do you do that?
Mhm.
And George Jovanovic and his family helped us with this. And we raised funds, and we crated them all up. But then how do we get them actually across the pond? So I called a man by the name of Mr. Lachkovic, who was with Yugoslav Airlines. And I said, Mr. Lachkovic, I've got these kidney dialysis machines. This, I mean, can you imagine a 22-year-old? I
Yeah.
mean, that takes a lot of nerve, right? And I said, I've got these kidney dialysis machines. I know that you're delivering a plane
Huh.
from a Boeing plane to Yugoslav Airlines. Do you mind if we stick them on the plane? And he goes, yeah, no problem. And so that was our first humanitarian effort, was to get those kidney dialysis machines. So we were always kind of in doing kind of fun stuff on the side, right?
Uh-huh.
So when the war started, George Jovanovic and his aunt Marija and Marinic and Dick Major and all these people from the Croatian Fraternal Union Lodge 439, we sent, I think, 30 containers of food,
Wow.
medicine, diapers, toilet paper, you name it, everything went. And we were sending these, and sent them directly to Zadar, where the Archbishop of Zadar accepted them. And we knew him because his brother lived here. It's all about who you knew.
Yeah.
We did social networking way before Zuckerberg was, ever thought of. And it's who we knew. We Croatian people were very, very connected,
It's the
and
contacts.
it's contact, it's who you know. And so just about that time, Dr. Frank Brozovic was very, very active on the political end and doing lobbying, where Jack Bodic and Luka Mišitic and
Uh-huh.
that group of guys was already in DC. And so Frank called me and said, Johnny, we need to be working on lobbying. The Yugoslav government they were already well established in Washington, D.C., but we Croats had nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing. And that's where I met Jack and Luka and that whole gang of people. So we were working on culture, music, folklore, humanitarian, lobbying, whatever it needed to be done, we were doing it. And it was a really kind of a cool time
Yeah.
to be a young 20-ish, Croatian, and you're meeting people from all over, Chicago, Los Angeles, Pittsburgh, wherever, Toronto, wherever it may be. And Jack Badic invited us all down to Los Angeles.
Oh,
And
wow.
we had a Croatian Days in the Sun. So the Croatian Days on the Hill was the was the lobbying effort.
Uh-huh.
And interestingly enough, Dr. Brozovic, who really kind of led this delegation, he set us up with Senator Slade Gordon. And we all met with Senator Gordon, and it was Senator Gordon that wrote the legislation to recognize Croatia. So I had this little tiny hand in that. So we all kind of we gave of ourselves for that,
Yeah,
just for that
yeah,
one recognition.
yeah, yeah. Congrats. Yeah, so John, you continue to fundraise for different causes. Like you have an annual event for St. Teresa's and St. Joseph Orphanages in Zagreb. So let's talk a little bit about that.
So during the war, Tim and Chris Jovanovic, who Tim is in my band Sinovi,
Okay.
he and his wife put together a group of musicians to do a Tamburica mass written by Tom Yesita of Los Angeles. And we would have these masses to raise funds for different humanitarian groups in Croatia. So after the the war was over, Marge Sessa said, "Oh, they're raising money for the orphanages in Zagreb through an organization in Kansas City, a gentleman by the name of Don Wolf." And my dad said, the Croatian Christmas music is really great. You guys should do Christmas Mass. But nobody really wanted to play on Christmas. So we decided to do it on the Feast of the Epiphany, which is Tri Kralja. And so for the last 25 years, I think 25 years, with a couple of exceptions during COVID, we didn't have it. We have this beautiful Croatian Tamburica Mass in honor of the Epiphany. So we've got 30, 40, sometimes 50 people in the choir. And we have a big pasta feed afterwards. And so we have sent, I believe, I think about $100,000 we've sent to this orphanages in
Nice.
Croatia. So yeah, we've done our really, really good work with that. And it's a community effort.
Yeah.
I'm kind of the idea guy, I'm like,
Uh-huh.
well, let's try this, let's put everybody together. And but it takes a crew. I mean, you need a
Yeah.
big crew of people and
Ah,
volunteers and people to schlep stuff and to brown onions and to,
yeah.
make, pasta by, and that's not out of a can, right? No
Yeah.
jars. That's all from scratch, right? So it takes a lot of labor to put on these events,
Yeah.
including Croatia Fest. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so I think I was talking about Croatia Fest. So Alma and I, we were talking about, well, we need to do this. We need to do a Croatian festival. So Dr. Brozovic got named the honorary counsel for Washington State for the Republic of Croatia. So he put us all together. It was like a scene out of The Godfather because, when they put, you put the five families together,
Yeah.
all the heads of the five families. And so we're all sitting around his dining room table, and he says, "Okay, I've got this position. What do you guys want to do with it?" How he was asking for our input on what we should do. So my friend Maria Grgurevic and Marin Bezic and I came up with an idea that we should have this Croatian festival. And all of the four heads of the families, they're like, "No, it's who's going to do all that work? Who's going to pay for all of that? How are you going to advertise it? How are you going to, no, let's not do it. You're wasting time. Let's just have banquets and, you can cook and we can have parties. I'm not playing for another banquet and no more of that stuff. We were very insular as a community.
Typical though. Typical.
Typical. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Jali Bože, and so then we went to Alma, and she was our first coordinator for Croatia Fest, and then her daughter Maria helped. And they really set the footprint for this festival that initially started with a $5,000 budget to a festival that's now got a $65,000 budget
Wow.
for the day.
Gee.
And it's an incredible festival. There are thousands of people. It's the first time of this event that we did it for the general public. It's not for us. It's for the people. It's for the city where they can come to see who are these Croatians, who are these wild-eyed, swarthy Croats running around town, and we get to show them. We get to show them what the music's like, about the
Yeah.
art, the history, the the food, the dancing, all of that stuff. If you walk in there, you get a real taste of what Croatia is all about. And this year is really exceptional because we're partnering with ACAP. So all
Yeah.
of the ACAP conference is happening in Seattle in the 3 days. So we're going to have people coming from all over the U.S., from Croatia, for this special ACAP Croatia Fest joint effort. I think Vedran was talking a little bit about that
Yeah,
with
he was.
his interview. But if you happen to be in Seattle, think about coming to Seattle. Make sure it's that first weekend of October, because it's going to be pretty special.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We gotta get people out there. Um, I'm gonna go back just to mention a few because you're all over Seattle. Some may even call you the chef, and I got a little tidbit on that too. So, just a couple of quick things. In 2001, you performed the Croatian Christmas cantata. That was Narodi se Mladi Kralj by Tomislav Julik of Zagreb, conducted by Mary Sherhart. You did a residency as a dance teacher at the John Stanford International School and vocal residency with the famed Kitka Women's Vocal Ensemble of the San Francisco Bay Area. But then you also do some modern, because I listened to a little, it's hard to find some of it, but some of this is pretty neat. Culture Shock, Virginia Vulgaris, Children of the Revolution, which has a little bit of salsa flair to it, like that
Yeah.
Latina. Lara Lavi, Balkan Cabaret. You're all over Seattle and surrounding areas doing not just Croatian music, but Croatian music for others, as you said, like Croatia Fest and entertaining and educating. But also, you're just out there musically engaged in the community, which is the community that really isn't there sometimes nowadays, right? People just want to put their face in their phones or go to a bar and watch sports, and
Yeah.
you're really doing a lot of great music venues or opportunities with other music bands or organizations. And how do you do that
It's kind
all?
of fun. All of those, thinking back at all of those special projects that we did 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It was because we were connected. I happened to meet Gino Jevjevic, also known as Gino Banana. They came to Seattle from Sarajevo. These are the guys that did hair in Sarajevo during the war.
Oh, real.
Yeah, and they came to Seattle to do a play. Gino came to do a play called Sarajevo Behind God's Back. Anyway, I happened to be down at the Seattle Center, and I happened to meet these Gino and Lazy Beisho and Boris Yochev. And we just started talking, just right out underneath the Space Needle. And we're
Uh-huh.
talking, and he goes, "Well, we're going to give a presentation now. Why don't you come over to Seattle Children's Theater and see the presentation?" It just happened. It was
Uh-huh.
just by chance that happened. Just like the Mark Levy thing happened.
Uh-huh.
He just happened to run into me. That's happened with the Chino thing. So they were playing at the this place called the Serafina, and this restaurant, kind of a shishi poo poo Italian place. And they said, "Johnny, bring the accordion. You know how to play this music. Well, we want to do a little folk. These are rock music. These guys are like full on rock musicians." But
Uh-huh.
they thought, "Oh, we'll throw a little ethnic in there. Come and play tambura. Come play accordion." And so that band has now been together 30 years.
Oh, wow.
And then with Laura Lavi, it was her mom happened to be my next door neighbor. And she was this really eccentric Jewish lady. And she says, "Oh, you got to meet my daughter, Laura. She's a musician." And
Uh-huh.
so Laura says, "Oh, you play the accordion? Come on, come play with my band." So
Uh-huh.
that kind of happened. And then, with Mary, I gave her Mary Sherhart is a brilliant choral conductor, and does Bulgarian and Bosnian music and Croatian stuff. Anyway, so I gave her this Lado CD of Narodu Samadi Kralj, and I said, "Mary, you got to hear this. This is just really amazing music, and it would be just so much fun if we could do it here in Seattle. And I
Uh,
knew she was the only person that could pull this off. And as she put the CD in the in the CD player and she listens to it and she goes, I was struck by lightning. And she goes, I had to do this piece of music. So we ended up doing it at the St. James Cathedral for I think there must have been 2,000 people in the St. James Cathedral to hear that concert. We
mm,
took it up to Vancouver, BC. We took it to Anacortes. And it was really, really a cool project. She brought together all of these singers and musicians, and not all of them were Croatian. Some were Croatian, but some are just people that like Croatian music and like to sing that kind of music.
uh,
And then it was just a really amazing what music can do and really bring people together. So I think a lot of it is kind of happens by chance, and then you
mm,
have to kind of guide it. And then if you have the skills, you can kind of polish it and make it really spectacular. And I think
yeah.
everything that we've done, I think we've done to the best of our ability. We've made mistakes along the way,
Yeah,
of
yeah,
course.
everybody does. Right.
I think generally speaking, yeah, everything that we do, we really try to make it good and
Yeah,
worthwhile.
yeah. So, Chef
Oh,
Morovich on Channel 5, King 5 Seattle. So, this was, again, I think it was for Balkan Nights. You participated in Balkan Nights. I think that's what it was. But you were doing, because it was canceled because of COVID again.
right.
You went on Channel 5 to teach or to show how to make zeljanica, right? That was a good clip. Talk about that.
But
Uh huh.
before that, and you don't know this one, but KCTS, which is our local PBS station, Channel
Okay.
9, they would have this program, locally produced program, which they don't do anymore. And it was called KCTS Cooks. And they
Uh,
would get people from the community to present a recipe of their favorite, uh, of their choice.
uh,
And I'd always get I always get that FOMO, like about the festival,
yeah.
we need to have one of these. Well, we need to have somebody go on and cook something on KCTS. And they said, okay, put in your application and it needs to be submitted by April 21st. Well, that happens to be my birthday. And I thought,
Uh,
I'm going to put that application in. What the heck am I going to make? And I said, okay, I got to make something that's interesting.
uh,
It tastes good, but that's not going to be too hard. So I made cheese burek. Okay, well, not cheese burek. Burek's the sirom.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah,
actually
yeah,
sirnica, right?
yeah.
So they called me and they said, "Hey, we'd like to have you come in and do that again." One of those. It just happened to happen, and then when the King 5 thing said, well, I know how to do that one thing. Okay, I'll make it a little variation. I'll do Zaljanica. So I got to do 2 cooking programs, even though I'm a pretty good cook, but that was my cooking Hall of Fame contribution.
Oh, too bad I couldn't find both of those. So maybe you have a link.
I'll send it to you.
Okay.
I think it still exists.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty funny. You did a great job though. I mean, it was fun. She even I forget who the host was. She was interested in doing a shot of Slivo, but you reminded her it was a family friendly show, so you couldn't
Yeah,
do
yeah, yeah.
it.
She's really like a famous like Seattle culinary celebrity, and
Ah,
I happened to run into her a couple of years ago, and I thought, how do I know this lady? She looks really familiar. It was just at an event, an event that I was at, and I recognized her voice, and I'm like, oh my God, you're the lady from KCTS. And so I mean, we're hugging and kissing at
yeah.
at this event, and people are like, what the hell are they?
You're a natural though. You did great.
Well,
Um,
we try, right?
yeah.
You gotta give it your best shot.
Yeah, yeah. So, one last thing before we get into future endeavors. I found a recording you did with your mom. I think it was in '06 or '07. I think it was released in '07, and it was done with or by the Northwest Heritage Resources. Called the CD was called Tour Guide Olympic Peninsula Loop Heritage Corridor Tour, and the musical recording was part of a larger project funded with a grant from the National Endowment for the Arts. And the song's Mariana. The song was written, I'm just going to give some credit here, Vlaho Paljatak and Svetozar Sisic, and was first recorded and published in 1936. And so I just want to play, it's not a long song, but I want to play and then just have you comment on it after we're done here.
gledaćeš doći na prvi randevu. Noć je oko mene svud je tama, Marijana spala sama i ne zna da sam tu. A ja pod palmom sjedim sam i oči sklapan sam i tužno čekam davno svudjen dan. Oj Marijana, slaka mala Marijana, ja ću te čekati dok svane dan. Oj Marijana, slaka mala Marijana, ja ću te čekati dok ti ćeš doći.
That's great, John. Just your thoughts about recording with your mom like that.
So my mom actually recorded that with that Starmark band in 1976. So when Jens Lund, I believe it was Jens Lund that did the recording from the Washington State Folklore Society, they called and said, hey, we want to do something Croatian, but it's got to be, we're doing this project so when people drive in this area, they have some kind of a soundtrack to put together with this driving tour. And it's going through Hookwind and Grace Harbor, where my grandparents, my great-grandparents settled. And so we said, well, we learned that song, Mariana, from my grandparents and great-grandparents. That was something that we just sang at every Christmas and Easter and anyway, so we thought that would be an appropriate song to do because even today, and this is, 2026, that's one part of the culture that has remained.
Yeah.
People know how to cook and they know a few songs. A lot of the culture died out and I feel a little extinct sometimes in trying to kind of maintain it, but we were just playing at a wedding on last week, and there was play Mariana, and my dad is one of those. Again, my dad will say, "I'll tip you not to play Mariana," but it's a big part of our heritage, and wherever we go, somebody's going to request that, and if it's not once, it's 3 times. Even though we played it 7 times already, they want to hear that song, and so it. What that means to us is that it was truly a snapshot of what was brought to this country and what remained of our identity. So I think that's kind of, to sum up kind of what I do is teaching, what our culture is about, why it's important, and pointing out the fun stuff about it, pointing out even the not so fun things about it. And there's a lot of interesting history that goes along with it, and the discrimination that our people had to go through, and all of those stories need to be told of how we got here and how we move forward.
Yeah, it's a great, just great, right, musical piece, but just as well, all that history and I think to do it with your mom is just.
And having to do with her, well, we sing all the time. I mean, we're always singing, and that we'll go up to Roslyn for the Croatian picnic, and my cousin Andy, the one that gave my first accordion, he's a little over 80 now, and he's still playing, and he calls us up onto the stage, and what are we going to sing?
Oh,
Mariana.
Yeah, but you, I think I read the 3 of you guys, it's Mike, and you and Andy still play once a month.
No, so they have this once a month. There's this accordion club that gets together. People that like to hear the accordion. If you can imagine, this happens. And so my cousin Andy and his nephew Mike Marinkovic and I, John Morovich, give a 3 Witches concert once every November, and it's super fun because we have 3 very, very different styles playing. I play really hardcore folk music. Mike plays jazz and kind of standards, and Andy's a really phenomenal jazz accordionist too.
Huh.
And so we have very different programs that we, even though we're all itches and we're all Croatian and we're all related, we do a very different presentation. So, and then we call up my mom, and she comes up and sings with us.
The three bitches.
Yeah.
That's, you gotta trademark that.
Yeah,
So-
right.
Okay, future endeavors. We talked about Croatia Fest. ACAP's on the 2nd and 3rd of October, but Croatia Fest, I think, is on the 4th, Sunday. Walk us through what we can experience that day so we can get people out there to visit.
So Croatia Fest, yeah, definitely come. It's a one-day thing from noon to 6. Music, dancing, food, art, an amazing art gallery. That's that my part, my contribution is writing the grants and putting together the art gallery. It's a beautiful section. We have a wine room where we got live music and tasting wines from Croatia and from vintners here locally. We've got cooking demonstrations. We've got tourism. You name it. It's whatever you want to learn about Croatia. It's at Croatia Fest.
Nice, lovely. So we got to make
And
sure.
the other thing to look
Go ahead.
forward to, well, of course, January we've got Tri Kralja, but in May of every year we have Croatian Heritage Day at the Mariners, and this year, and that's my sister. My sister, she's really my right hand when it comes to Tamburitzans. She's somebody you should be interviewing as well, because she does a lot of work with the costuming and making all of these beaded accessories for all of the girls. You know, they're like thousands of beads of these necklaces and headpieces and things. And one of the things that she really does well is organizing Croatian Day at the Mariners, and it's a phenomenal event. We had over 1,200 Croatians show up for Mariners Day, and really great jerseys with colorful with the checkers, and so those are the things to look for in Seattle.
Yeah, I saw a picture of you guys in the jerseys. They're pretty cool. That was pretty nice.
They're very fun. They're very fun.
Yeah. Well, John, I appreciate your time. I'm glad you weren't a sports player. I'm glad you stuck to the culture and the folklore and the music because you have the talent. And you should be proud of all the work that you've done over the years, especially, you look at the volunteering to fundraising for the war efforts, but also for the orphanage, continuing efforts there. You've done great work in many different areas of Croatian culture, and we should thank you from the bottom
We've
of our
got
hearts.
a lot of, thank you. I appreciate that. We've got a lot of really great help, but I'm going to leave you with one sports anecdote. Right. I tell this, people want to know about my family and sports connection, and my grandmother, my Baba Ane, the one that was washing the clothes on Zlati, she was kind of homebound in her later years, and she would like to listen to sports either on television or on the radio, especially if it were teams like USC, UCLA, Notre Dame, where there were Croatian guys playing.
Yeah.
And my dad would call her up on a Saturday morning and say, Mama, studied, channel 4, Biće nekoga od naših ki igra danas. So one of our guys is playing. And so she would, she'd get all excited, they'd say the name, and she'd listen for them. Well, one Saturday, she called, and she said, Johnny, ima nekoga od naših ki igra futbol danas. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. I think, it's like North Carolina and Alabama or something like that. Nema nikoga od naših. And she goes, no, ja sam čula. And I'm like, ne more biti. I mean, like, are you sure? She goes, yeah, on je najviše na glasu, on je najbolji igrač. He's like the best player on the team. They keep saying his name over and over again. And I said, no, it can't be. Nema naši. And she goes, and I go, call back if you hear it again. So maybe 10, 15 minutes later, she calls and she goes, Enoga, there he is. I go, who? Lina Skrimic.
Lion, that's a good image. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good ending. You did promise a good ending there. So again, really thanks. I look forward to coming out. My wife and I, Heather, will be out in October, and hopefully we can get out, either have dinner or some drinks with you, just spend some time and
Absolutely, that would be great.
socialize. All right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so we're going to wrap up another episode. So we want to say thank you. I want to follow to all of our CRO-AM followers for tuning in, and to Filthy 46 Productions for their editing and production expertise. So until next time, Živeli Hrvati, veliki poz I Bog.
Doviđenja.
If you have appreciated this interview or past interviews, or if you know of someone that we should interview, please feel free to reach out to us via email at info@CRO-AMConnections.com. You can listen to our podcast on Spotify, Apple, and other podcast platforms, along with watching us on our YouTube channel or following us on Facebook and Instagram at CRO-AM Connections. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember, please support all local and non-local Croatian-American events, which you can find on our mobile app. Thanks and appreciation to Don Morovich for being our guest, and to the Morovich family for all the great picks. Croatia Fest, Jill Lindsay and Northwest Heritage Resources, Seattle Accordion Social, Filthy 46 Productions, and as always, our CRO-AM followers.
Vala.